I don't care if I got to start over 1,000 times. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, you heard that right. I had to start over because I started talking. I got screwed up. Not going to do that again. What's up, y'all? Look, okay, so I said on my last video, I'm doing an extra video, so I'm going to be a little bit less rambly, if you will. So let's just jump right into it. Trump warns Walmart, don't raise prices due to my tariffs, but don't eat the cost from those taxes. Huh? That sounds like a contradictory statement. However, reading through this news article, that's a false headline. That is a fake news headline. He doesn't say anywhere in here, don't eat the taxes. As a matter of fact, he says to absorb those costs. Which, by the way, right quick, the left should be cheering for this because they're the ones that constantly want to raise the tax rate on the corporations, right? Oh, tax the rich, make them pay their fair share. And then Donald Trump does that through a means by which we can also tax foreign companies, and they're losing their freaking minds. That's the logical disconnect that I'm constantly talking about with the left. And that is Trump derangement syndrome incarnate, folks. All the entire left right now, Democrats and some people on the right, they're going off about these taxes, right? Just mainly the left, though, because Republicans don't like taxes, generally speaking, but the left, they want to tax the corporations, pay your fair share type of stuff going on. Donald Trump does that, you know, in my estimation, through a much more genius way, because, you know, that's not just raising taxes on domestic corporations, but that's raising taxes on all corporations that import into our country. But the left doesn't like that. That doesn't make any sense at all. At all. Doesn't. President Donald Trump on Saturday ripped into Walmart, saying on social media that the retail giant should eat the additional costs created by his tariffs. As Trump has jacked up import taxes, he has tried to assure a skeptical public that the foreign producers would pay for those taxes and that retailers and automakers would absorb the additional expenses. Most economic analyses are deeply skeptical of those claims and have warned that the trade penalties would worsen inflation. However, inflation is down, by the way. Walmart warned on Thursday that everything from bananas to children's car seats could increase in price. Trump in his Truth Social post lashed out at the retailer, which employs 1.6 million people in the United States. He said the company based in Bentonville, Arkansas, should sacrifice its profits for the sake of his economic agenda that he says will eventually lead to more domestic jobs in manufacturing. And that is right, and I have that post right here, folks. They put it in the article, but, you know, I don't trust the corporate press. They constantly leave out context from these posts, so I'm going to go ahead and read it directly from the man himself. Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices throughout the chain. Walmart made billions of dollars last year, far more than expected. Between Walmart and China, they should, as it said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything. I'll be watching, and so will your customers. In my opinion, that is a freaking genius move right there, folks. Just outright genius, because this puts the pressure on the companies now, right? Letting everybody know, informing the public that this is no different than, you know, the popular Democrat policy position of raising taxes on the corporations. What do you think that's going to do? This is also a tax. And this is why I don't understand the left whatsoever of them going after Trump for these tariffs, for goodness sakes, and, you know, at the same time supporting raising the tax rate on the corporations, for goodness sakes. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It just doesn't. It's a ridiculous position to have. That's like saying, you know, I don't like apples. I don't like red apples, but I'll eat those green ones. Those green ones are the best. What? They taste pretty much the same. They're both apples. It's ridiculous. It really is. Really, really is. The posting by the Republican president reflected the increasingly awkward series of choices that many major American companies face as a result of his tariffs, from deteriorating sales to the possibility of incurring Trump's wrath. That's a fascinating way to phrase this, isn't it? Incurring Trump's wrath. Like, what would that wrath be, by the way? Oh, you get blasted on social media? Yeah, I love the corporate press and their insane manipulations. Trump has similarly warned domestic automakers to not raise their prices, even though outside analysts say his tariffs would raise production costs. Right? But Trump has also put in place several key aspects to not raise those production costs, as a matter of fact. Relief on certain steel and certain parts, blah, 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 whatever that may be. That's why he said, don't raise your prices, because he's fixing that issue. But they don't tell you that, folks. They just want to manipulate you into thinking Trump's just this insane orange man over here. So far, those tariffs have darkened the mood of an otherwise resilient U.S. economy. Resilient? Yeah, we've been on the brink of recession since COVID, just about. The preliminary reading of the University of Michigan survey of consumer sentiment on Friday slipped to its second lowest measure on record, with roughly 75% of respondents spontaneously mentioning tariffs as they largely expected inflation to accelerate. And that's funny because inflation is going down, as a matter of fact. And did you hear that, by the way? Oh, these people, the respondents to the poll, just spontaneously mentioned tariffs. They were being asked about something totally different. That's what they're trying to tell you right there. No, folks, that is a lie. That is the corporate press manipulating the polls. They do this constantly just to fit an agenda. That's why we don't trust a lot of the polls. If you want to have trust in polls, you got to go look at the methodology, look at the questions asked, and look, on a case-by-case basis of each poll and see exactly who they're polling. And if they're continuously polling the same people over and over and over and over again, that is not an accurate representation of America, by the way. You have to poll different people. You've got to get new voices coming in all the time, for goodness sakes. But they don't tell you that in these articles. In April, Walmart CEO Doug McMillon, was among the retail executives who met with Trump at the White House to discuss tariffs. But the Trump administration went forward despite warnings and has attacked other companies such as Amazon and Apple that are struggling with the disruptions to their supply chain. You love that, huh? How they're framing it. Oh, Donald Trump is attacking these vulnerable companies like Amazon. Are you freaking kidding me? And what have those attacks been? Oh, hang on. There was a rumor that came out that said Amazon was going to implement tariff pricing. In other words, they were going to let you know how much whatever product it was cost due to the tariff and how much that product would be without the tariff. That was a rumor. Then Trump blasted them for that. And then they come out and said, fake news, folks. So, believe what you want on that one, but does that sound like what they just told you? Oh, Donald Trump's attacking the vulnerable Amazon and Apple. Come on now. Once again, they're trying to portray a narrative instead of trying to give you the facts. Walmart Chief Financial Officer John David Rainey said he thinks $350 car seats made in China will soon cost an additional $100, a 29% price increase. We're wired to keep prices low, but there's a limit to what we can bear on, or any retailer for that matter, he told the Associated Press on Thursday after the company reported strong first quarter sales. This is kind of the point of the tariffs, right? They're not supposed to bear the entirety of that tariff, but they are supposed to absorb most of it. That's the point of the tariffs, if they're going to work. And the secondary point to the tariffs is, once again, is bring back manufacturing to the United States. Right? That's where you get the high tariffs, the full-on tariff. Right? So this is why I kind of don't understand the universal tariffs all the way across the board for every country. Unless we're talking about renegotiating trade deals with these countries, then I get it, right? Then it works, because if they're not meant to stay in place for years to come, for however long, right? If they're not meant to be there on a consistent basis, then they don't make any sense, because there are some products that you just can't buy You just can't make or manufacture. I'm sorry, I said buy, but there's some products you just can't manufacture in the United States. That's just how it is. And putting a tariff on those products doesn't make any sense. Once again, unless you're talking about trade negotiations. Then it makes a lot of sense. The administration recently ratcheted down its 145% tariff on China to 30% for a 90-day period. Trump has placed tariffs as high as 25% on Mexico and Canada due to illegal immigration and drug trafficking, harming the relationship with America's two largest trading partners. And what they didn't tell you right there is that the Chinese tariffs, they're trying to work a trade negotiation here, and that both countries reduced their tariffs by 115%. They failed to tell you that, folks. Once again, they're trying to portray a narrative. Trump is retreating. I can't stand that, folks. And yes, he put tariffs on these countries to get them to do something about their border. Right? They don't care if illegal immigrants just run amok through their country. We do. Do something about border security. That is the message of those tariffs. And Canada, being the great neighbor that they are, I don't know if you can tell the sarcasm in my voice, are trying to push back against that. Oh, we don't want to. We're pushing back against the United States' bullying, Trump's bullying. It's insane, y'all. Yeah, you go right ahead and do that and destroy your economy in the process. There is a universal baseline tariff of 10% on most countries as Trump promises to reach trade deals in the coming weeks after having shocked the financial markets in early April by charging higher import taxes based on trade deficits with other countries and market manipulations and monetary manipulations as well. They didn't say that. Trump insists he intends to preserve the tariffs as a revenue source and that a framework agreement with the United Kingdom would largely keep the 10% tariff rate in place. Trump has also placed import taxes on autos, steel, and aluminum and plans to do so on pharmaceutical drugs, among other products. The tariffs and Trump's own reversals on how much he should charge have generated uncertainty across the U.S. economy, such that Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has held the central bank's benchmark rate steady until there is more clarity. Powell has warned that tariffs can both hurt growth and raise prices, and he also said they have several other benefits as well. But they didn't tell you that, once again. On Saturday, Trump repeated his calls for Powell to cut the benchmark rates. That could cause inflation to accelerate, but the president has maintained that inflationary pressures have largely disappeared from the economy. Yes, and he's right about that because inflation has been going down over the past several months. Too late Powell, a man legendary for being too late, will probably blow it again. But who knows, Trump posted on Truth Social. That is right. Yeah, Jerome Powell was a terrible pick, by the way. Just terrible pick. The guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing, apparently. I wouldn't know what the hell I'm doing either, so don't take my word for that. But I think that's all I got on this one. Hey, y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. These this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Subscribe, join the members, become a member, be an active participant in this thing, and let's get these corporate press narratives and, have them pushed to the wayside, if you will. Let's get that out of the way because we just want the truth. We just want the facts with our news, and that's it. But y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.